Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at World's Finest, #1. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Daryl. I am the host of Read Your Comics. And as we build up to the James Gunn Superman reboot, I'm continuing to look at Superman comics of yore. Some of them are classics, some of them maybe not so much. You can let me know what this one is to you. This book is from 1990. It is a prestige format book from that era, so has the nice square bound binding, hefty price tag for the time, $3.95. I picked this up as a kid. This isn't the copy that I got as a kid, but I did pick this up. And a $4 comic at that time when everything else was just $1, that was a big ask for me as a kid. I was really blown away by the art in this. It's by Steve Rude. This was most likely my first exposure to him. Dave Gibbons, the artist of Watchmen, is writing this. Carl Kessel doing inks, and I've come to really appreciate Carl Kessel. Mostly as a writer, he's really good at writing in a very kind of traditional superhero style. But on this, he's an inker. And then we got Steve Oliff, legendary colorist, working on it. It's a great creative team working on this book. As far as I know, this was the first World's Finest post-Crisis. Now, that's not the first time that Superman and Batman met post-Crisis. That happened in the Man of Steel miniseries. But as far as I can recall, this was the first time they brought this World's Finest title back. And I guess they decided to go big with it and do it in a prestige format. Now, it is part of a limited series with 3 issues. I'm only going to look at #1 today, but I want to go ahead and show off these covers. Great Lex Luthor Joker cover, so you already know who the villains are going to be. Good looking back covers. These are painted covers by Steve Rude. And this one feels like a recreation of a cover. I feel like I've seen this now as like a Golden Age book, this same style or the same layout of like Superman holding 2 figures up and Batman kind of fighting down lower on the page. If it is, let me know what it's recreating, if it is indeed doing that. So, like I said, I'm only going to look at #1 today because this is available in trade paperbacks. I want you to go out and get this. You can also find these single issues pretty easily. So I guess it was a pretty hot book at the time, or like when it came out. It was heavily ordered, so it has a decent print run. I do run across it quite often, and the trade paperback's still in print, so it's still a fondly looked upon book. Now, despite the covers being painted, obviously the interior is not, because like I mentioned, we do have Carl Kessel doing the inks on it. So the issue opens up, and you'd think this is Bruce Wayne, perhaps, looking at the grave of his parents. Whoever it is, they died in 1949, 1929 to 1940. But it doesn't look like it says Wayne on the tombstones. Great opening establishing shot of Gotham City as dawn breaks. Tons of detail into the Gothic architecture here. We've got crows or blackbirds flying around, gargoyles on the statues. This is going to be juxtaposed as we go into the story and meet Superman. We're going to get a similar shot of Metropolis. But first, we got to have a little Batman story. Great opening sequence here. No dialogue. We're on page 4 with 0 dialogue, but we're kicking off with Batman right off the bat. He's taking down some street level thugs. They have Joker masks that they're wearing. And Steve Rude, who's just, a classic illustrator, leaning into his Kirby, his Toth, his simplistic, clean look. I mean, it's just a beautiful book to look at. And that's the biggest thing I'm going to get out of this first issue that I can really point to, is that it is just so well crafted in the illustration side of things that any criticisms I'm going to have, like story-wise, of this first issue are kind of negated by how pretty it is. Color palette is great too. Everything contrasts well so you can read it very clearly. One thing when I do these reviews, I actually kind of have a light glare on the page when they're on this glossy paper, so I'm looking at it on a monitor over here. And if I can still read it very clearly on the monitor, to me that's a well-crafted page, because I don't have to see it up close to understand what's happening on the page. And there's definitely books that I cover that when I'm looking on the monitor, I have to squint and to tell what's happening. But with this, I can definitely see it with great uses of spotted blacks and silhouettes as Batman rescues a child from a bus. So again, out of daytime here at dawn, kind of brutal with the batarang, like hitting him and puncturing his hand. Usually that's not something you would see in like the mainstream books as much. And Batman catches the guy who flips some cards at him, and he eats one, which is kind of like cyanide, I guess. And the one, of course, he eats is the Joker. So no dialogue up until he says, Joker. Get another, what appears to be a flashback page here of a young boy being taken into a mansion with an M on the door frame there on the door. So this feels very much connected to Bruce Wayne, but it's not a W. And this doesn't look exactly like Wayne Manor is often portrayed. It's a big house, but Wayne Manor is usually more sprawling. So here's that juxtaposition with Metropolis, as I was saying, with a lot more contemporary architecture. You've got doves flying off in the distance instead of ravens. A lot of glass reflecting the light. And it's the same situation of like sunup. It's a little bit past dawn, though. The sun's kind of moving up and really making just everything shine off of the reflective, gilded look of Metropolis here. So great, like as I said, great juxtaposition of the two cities. And then we get another dialogueless opening sequence of Superman here. So well done on Gibbons' part, who's an artist by nature, understanding that we got to get straight into the action and we don't need to bog it down with a lot of thought balloons and details of what's happening, firmly planting this in the time period of this girl with the Walkman on it. So despite this almost having like a timeless feel to it, I mean, you've got cars like 1950s styles cars in here with the cabs in particular, but it's planted in the modern times, even though it almost has a Fleischer Superman look to it. And similar situation with the school bus and stuff. So we're kind of showing both Superman and Batman dealing with a similar situation as they, are introduced into this book. And it appears there was some like these are drug dealers or something, and this kid runs over and picks some up, and he's got a gun put to his head. I love this look of Superman just standing over him. The guy thinks he has the drop on Superman by holding a hostage, but it only takes a little heat vision to heat up the gun and melt it, and then he's able to capture the guy and flies away with him in a car. Look at the kids all cheering and stuff. And I guess they make bail immediately because here's the police officer giving him the bail bond. There's already a lawyer in there giving her card to Superman, and he says Luthor as he sees it. So instead of a Joker playing card, he's getting a business card handed to him. More build up on this flashback, and where we're not getting any dialogue here, this is one place that probably could have been used to fully understand what's going on, so that this is not Bruce Wayne, because you fall into what is usually like the Batman tropes of showing his origin, but that's not what we're getting here. But man, it seems really similar at the same time, doesn't it? So then we get to this Midway orphanage. So this M could be a tip, right? As to the house of the boy seeing parents' graves and then being taken to a mansion that has a big M on it. And then we have Midway orphanage. And at this orphanage, we see these two kids. And as we go through this, it's like a little gala mixer here where Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent are going to meet. And they already start hinting that they kind of know each other and know each other's secret. Other supporting cast members are there, like Perry White and Jim Gordon. And we meet these two kids, and they're the kids that both Batman saved at the beginning sequence, and this is the one Superman saved. And they're at this orphanage. And through the mingling of all the guests here and all the supporting cast, we learned that Lex Luthor has actually bought this orphanage, which is in the suicide slum of Metropolis, and I guess somehow connected to Gotham as well. And it was apparently run by somebody who had had a checkered past and was imprisoned. And this person is going to leave a video here where it details how this man was using the orphans to run a kid gang through the orphanage, and he was put away in time for it. And he's here asking for forgiveness. And he had this pre-recorded video asking for the people of Gotham and Metropolis to forgive him for his previous actions as they try to reestablish this orphanage as something positive for the two cities. Then we do get some Batman and Superman origin. Again, great juxtaposition throughout. So we're getting both of their origins kind of side by side. That's an interesting way to do it. You don't usually see the two put next to each other in this same way, right? Very similar to what Grant Morrison was able to do in his 4 panels of All-Star Superman. It'd be interesting to see him have done that with Batman as well. And they both wake up feeling a little uncomfortable. Now we get to meet Lex Luthor. So notice Lex's gloved hand right here. That should also put this in the place of where Superman, the title, was at this time, because Lex, he has like a kryptonite ring at one point, and I think it causes him to essentially get like cancer, and he has to remove his hand, and he ends up with like a robotic hand. So one thing I do like about this book is it has a very classic, timeless feel to it, but because it came out in 1990, it was still pretty much planted in the continuity of that time. Now the Joker and Lex are going to meet up. I think Lex is here to buy this building because he's trying to essentially buy all these old rundown buildings for his real estate criminal enterprises that he's doing. And the Joker owns the building at this point, and it too is a former orphanage, and he's got this Tweedledee and Tweedledum character. And there's just some good dialogue here of the Joker being annoying and Luthor not really having it, wanting to play around at all. And the Joker thinks he's going to slip on like a joy buzzer here to get Lex, but Lex is kind of onto it with his mechanical hand there, as I was saying, and it just shows that he's pretty formidable himself. This building is in Gotham because Lex is trying to move in on Gotham, essentially, and start buying up a bunch of property. And the Joker is offering some kind of proposition to sell him the building, and he's going to take a vacation to Metropolis. And Luthor's like, do whatever you want. You want the money, then take it. Look at this great panel here. The way the Joker is like breaking the panel and even like causing it to like fold a little bit. He's not just dropping his hands over. It's almost like it's a fabric or a curtain. So you've got a nice maniacal Joker happening throughout this. Good looking Batmobile, kind of classic style. Great establishing shot of Bruce Wayne in his study looking out the window to see the bat signal. He must have been taking that night off. And he's reading The Tale of Two Cities. Lots of little like neat nods and stuff. Good action sequence here too, as this is the building, I believe, that Joker was selling to Luthor, and now that he's setting it fire because he just wants to like raise it and replace it with, more modern condos that he can charge more money for and stuff. It's kind of a classic slumlord scenario happening here with Luthor. This 80s, 90s post-crisis version of Lex Luthor is 100% modeled after a certain New York businessman that went bankrupt 6 times, including couldn't keep a casino open. So I love all this, though. This great action sequence here as this Luthor machine is coming in, and I guess it's coming in to stop something, or they think, but Batman knows it's actually causing more problems, and he's going to go up there and blow it up with a little C4 that he has on himself. And of course it throws him down, and now he's like Luthor. Kind of the way Superman was before. And now we get the Joker terrorizing Metropolis. So that's kind of the the theme of this series, right? We're going to have the two main villains of the two characters swap cities. Gotta love the newsroom setup here. We got Pee Wee Herman on the calendar. Lois is definitely modeled after Margot Kidder here, but Superman Clark is modeled after the Fleischer Superman without a doubt. And again, we've got like classic cars here. So even though we're putting this in the that 89-90 continuity of DC, Steve Rude's sensibilities is to look very retro. He's able to mix in just enough to keep it contemporary, but also make it feel timeless. That's what I think is kind of making this like a good story or series overall, is that it doesn't feel bogged down by that continuity. But if you were reading it at the time in that continuity, it would have felt in place and not like a Elseworlds or something. Like Superman twist off the top of a fire hydrant. The water is to dissipate this Joker gas that's been let loose. Man, the action shots of Superman look great too, and the reactions to the people around as they watch him fly by. That's one of the details I think that really stands out. Not just like a great superhero pose, but what are the pedestrians on the street doing at the same time? Superman's able to swipe this bomb that they have because they're just going to cause havoc in the streets and take it up, and he's trying to cover it up, but it's still going to explode and kind of rain down some fireworks. What's going on right here? The lawn. That's a sneaky little scene there sticking in there. And as Superman returns, he sees that the clowns went down the hole. There's a card left there. Of course, he opens the manhole. Great shot here from like underneath the manhole. Good use of the spotted blacks. But I like how the S still is shown even through the shadow. And it hits him with a pie in the face. Pretty good humor there with the ha-ha-ha's going across the panel. Love that lettering. Love the splat lettering there. And then you get a click, and we know this look of the Joker holding a camera like this, and he's in like touristy clothes. Or you only see Superman saying Joker. So you're getting all of this like flip-flopping around as the story goes through. What we saw in the beginning, it's going to kind of go in full circle to come back around at the end. Get a Batman Gordon scene juxtaposed with a Superman talking to Perry White on top of the Daily Planet as opposed to Gotham Central. And as they're discussing Lex Luthor being in Gotham and that the Batman almost got himself killed, I like the line by Superman saying, "Hope he's okay. I don't approve of his tactics, but against Luthor and the Joker, we're on the same side." Banana phone. Banana phone. And it's a pretty good Joker throughout this too. I mean, he's a maniac. He just wants to cause chaos. He has a plan, but it's not really obvious what his plan is as he goes along. But Luthor, on the other hand, of course, does have a plan. And the Joker's kind of a wild card, and he's not too keen on it, but he thought that the Joker might distract Superman long enough that he could get done what he wanted in Gotham without being impeded. He doesn't really think of the Batman as being an issue to him. And then we get a little bit more of this backstory. Here's our kid gang from the orphanage, and that's kind of the flashbacks we're getting that was referred to in the previous issue. And then as we come back to the orphanage for an open day, we see Bruce Wayne is back and Clark Kent. Here's the two boys doing their like little drawings of why each character or why their hero is the best, the ones that saved each of them. Both Bruce and Clark Kent here, they step outside to talk to each other, and this is where you definitely know that they know each other's secrets, and they kind of come up with this plan that they need to essentially trade cities, at least for, this storyline here. So here's your bigger look at the orphanage that we didn't really see before, but now we see it with the little boy, and this appears to be the little boy right here. And here's this guy that we thought was dead. It appears to still be alive as well. I love this shot where it's like blurry, almost like they caught it in action with a camera. Beautiful looking book. Beautiful book. When I read this to do the video, I didn't love this opening story-wise. I appreciated the juxtapositions of the two characters quite a bit. Looking through it as I discuss it, though, I do like it a little bit more, quite honestly, as a first issue. But still, I would say it is the Steve Rude art that is the selling point to this book overall. Definitely one worth checking out. It's a pretty short read with the other 2 issues. Like I said, there is a trade paperback out there that shouldn't be too hard to find. And these issues aren't really too hard to find either. I run across them quite often. So that's all I got for this one. Until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.